following is a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about them Cowboys?
This is Mick Shots.
Streaming live on DallasCowboys.com and the official Dallas Cowboys app.
Now, here are Bill Jones, Everson Walls, and Mickey Spagnola.
And it is time for another edition of Mick Shots, a Thursday edition. And inside the SWBC Mortgage Studios at Ford Center at the Star in Frisco is one Mickey Spagnola. Hello, Mickey. How are you?
I'm doing fine, Bill. How are you doing? Here we are in the studio, right?
Right. We'll go ahead and say the sponsor, SWBC Mortgage Studios.
They can see it right behind me.
That's exactly right. We trust that Everson Walls will be joining us shortly. We've got much to get to over the course of the next 45 minutes as we get you set for the Cowboys and the Cleveland Browns, a noon kickoff on Sunday at AT&T Stadium. And when you see that Cleveland is playing at Dallas, what network do you think that game might be on Sunday?
Well, you
Cleveland,
would think
an AFC team at Dallas.
You would think it would be on CBS, right?
You would think it would be on CBS. However, it is on Fox.
But in this new age,
things have changed
right?
here in the team.
Yes.
That's right. Things have changed, and we can't go. Once upon a time, you could just see who's the visiting team, and if it's an AFC team, unless it was a primetime game on NBC or Monday night ESPN, then it would be AFC team on the road, it's on CBS. NFC team on the road, it's on Fox. Well, those aren't the rules anymore.
I figured you were going to come up with the stat the last time the Cowboys played home games back-to-back starting at noon. What's the deal?
Yeah, no kidding. What's going on here? Because it is pretty. Now, someone will say it. Well, it happened last year, but
yeah, right.
It does seem like a rarity that the Cowboys play a noon game. All right, I had not looked this up, but one of our producers, in fact, the producer of Cowboys Special Edition, and Caden Gates informed me of this today. I had not looked up the series between the Cowboys and the Browns, and the last time the Cleveland Browns beat the Dallas Cowboys. Have you
I got
looked
it.
that up, Mickey?
Yes, I have, as a matter of fact, because
so
they've lost four.
Let's see if Caden was right.
They've lost four straight.
Go ahead.
They've lost four straight to the Cowboys. And the last time they beat them was 1994, 19-14, when with time,
I remember it well.
Time running out, Troy Aikman threw a pass underneath to Jay Novacek, and he slips down.
That's right.
And came up 6 inches short of a touchdown to win the game. And believe it or not, Troy Aikman got seriously criticized for not having the sense to throw the ball into the end zone, as I remember. Even though Novacek is wide open, underneath, uncovered, and is going to run for a touchdown to win the game, and slips and fall because it was a wet field, and came up 6 inches short from winning the ball game. So
I remember that well. In fact, when Caden told me the last time was in the 90s, I said, when he said 1994, I immediately said, Jay Novacek got stopped at the 6-inch line on the last play of the game. And I had to go back and look it up to confirm it. And sure enough, Cowboys faced a 2nd and goal at the 6. And with the last play of the game, Cleveland had just called a timeout. They passed underneath to Novacek. But there's a reason that it was open underneath to Novacek. Because they're guarding the goal line, right?
Exactly.
Cleveland defenders are going to be on the goal line. He's not going to be able to be in the end zone. He's going to have to fight his way in. But anyway, that was a big loss for the Cowboys. It was a December game, 1994.
Right.
And Barry Switzer's first year as the head coach.
I have a little background to that, sirs.
All right.
Wow, look who's here.
Hello, Everson.
All right, bring in some background.
I've been over here going, nobody would hear me. So. But I had just been released from that team the previous year That Cleveland Brown team.
Oh, that's right.
Coached by, a lot of people don't realize this, Bill Belichick. Was the head coach of that team in 1994. The rumors were already out that Art Modell was about to move the team. I don't know if they knew that he was going to move it to Baltimore at the time, but they knew that they were up for sale at that time. So he started unloading a lot of guys, myself being one of them. Bernie Kosar was another. He dumped us the year prior. They were rejuvenated afterwards, even though they knew they were about to be sold. Pepper Johnson had come in '93. He was the middle linebacker for that team in 1994. He was very instrumental in that game and in that season. If I'm not mistaken, the Browns made the playoffs in 1994 after they had already been nominated. And in 1995, if I'm not mistaken, that was the last year that the Cleveland Browns played football in that particular stadium. And Bill, I know you can do my fact checking there, but I'm pretty sure after the 1995 season, that was it for the Browns.
Right, and then that's exactly right. And in fact, young Caden Gates said, well, this is strange. The Cowboys played the Browns in 1994, and then they didn't play them again until 2004. And I said, young Caden, that's because the Cleveland Browns became the Baltimore Ravens.
And by
Caden
the way,
appreciates me throwing him under the bus.
For Cleveland dumping Bernie Kosar, he ended up being the backup quarterback here midway through the '93 season for the Cowboys.
Very good, Spags. That's
they
correct.
Done picked him
And
up.
who was the Browns quarterback in 1994 that game? That would be one Vinny Testaverde.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
right.
He
A
did.
decade later
Good job,
was the
Bill.
quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys under Bill Parcells. And by the way, that year, Bill Belichick led the Browns to an 11-5 record, and they did make the playoffs. And guess who they beat in the playoffs?
New
They
England.
defeated the New England Patriots in the playoffs.
That was his.
The connections are just endless.
That was his job interview.
And who
right?
was the head coach? And who was the head coach of the New England Patriots in 1994?
Bill
That would be
Parcells.
one Bill Parcells.
Yeah.
There you go. I got
Belichick
you.
beat Parcells, and then the next week, the Browns went on to lose to the Pittsburgh Steelers 29-9.
I have one more for you. I think it may be already old news. A lot of people don't realize. A lot of people didn't realize I retired from the Browns. But my defensive coordinator, I'm sure you guys know, but a lot of the fans out there might not know that the defensive coordinator for Bill Belichick was Nick Saban.
Nick Saban, that's right.
Nick Saban was his DC. Yeah. Oh, come on. You guys didn't know that?
I didn't
thought
remember
you guys
it.
were
I knew it,
reporters,
but I
man.
didn't remember it.
I remembered it. Yeah.
Yep.
Who was
Nick
the
Saban
defensive
was my
line
DC.
coach?
He was my DC in 1992 and 1993 with the Cleveland Browns. Yep.
All right. Do you remember who the defensive line coach was?
The old country boy that ended up going to Bates, right? Bates.
Jim Bates.
Jim Bates.
Jim
Yeah.
Bates, good old
Jim
country
Bates.
boy. I
Yeah.
liked him. Jim Bates is a good dude.
Who
Was
ended
a
up
good
here.
dude. I liked him.
Jim Bates ended
That's
up
right.
here.
I liked him.
So if you remember, Bill,
Yeah, I knew.
the Cowboys losing that game dropped them from 11-2 to 11-3. They ended up 12-4, and if I remember correctly, they were one game short of having home field advantage, and that's why they had to go to San Francisco for the NFC title game that they ended up losing after turning the ball
That was
That's
a
how
huge
big that
loss.
loss was.
A huge loss to the
consecutive-
Cowboys that year.
3 consecutive times and dropped down 21-0 with 7 minutes to go in the first quarter. And everybody blames Switzer for not having his team ready, by the way.
Well, was it his fault?
Well, I don't know. Troy had an
It was the-
interception.
it
Kevin
was the-
Williams had a
It was the Hall of
fumble.
Famers.
And Michael Irvin had a fumble.
And yet, and Mickey, I read the Legends script yesterday that you wrote. You wrote the one on Emmitt Smith. Is that right?
Right?
And yet, in that Legends show that will be coming soon to a theater near you.
Good point.
Or a TV station near you. That you pointed out in that so many players from that 1994 team, or from that the Super Bowl era of the Cowboys in the 90s, point to that game, the NFC Championship game lost to the 49ers, as one of their more memorable moments, even though they lost that game.
Yeah, no, it's amazing how many come back to that game, and the reason was, they fell behind 21-0, and they didn't give up, and they were within an interference call that should have been called on Deion Sanders holding down Michael Irvin's hands.
Oh, man.
It would have been a touchdown.
Oh, Mike was taking him.
And
yes.
It would have drawn them into within 3 points, and they were coming on strong. They were going to win that game. And my memory after that is it was drizzling, San Francisco cool. I'm standing behind the end zone in the waning minutes, right? Game's over. They're down by 10. But here's these Cowboys caked in mud. Troy Aikman still throwing the ball down the field, trying to get it to Michael Irvin for one last touchdown, and they just wouldn't give up. It was almost like, no, we can't lose, right? And I remember getting goosebumps watching it because I saw these guys that they just had it in them that they could not accept losing, and that's what Emmett talked about, the fact that everybody was trying. He ended up going out of the game with a hamstring. Larry Allen should never have played in the game. He had a hamstring, and these guys were fighting to the bitter end, knowing they were going to lose, but they wouldn't give up. It was an amazing. It's etched in my mind forever. The effort they made after they could have given up there in the first quarter.
All right, Mickey.
I recall that about that game was just how the matchup between Deion and Michael Irvin, I thought, was one of the more epic matchups. It really showed me even more so just what a quality player Michael Irvin was, because at that time, Deion was going from team to team. Just at that time, he's going from Atlanta, I believe, straight to San Francisco, just so that they could win a ring. And he would later do that for the Dallas Cowboys. But he was almost the victim of an extremely determined and physically more superior player in Michael Irvin. And seeing him, I've never seen Deion Sanders with his hands on his knees, because he's always been so in control as this talented defensive back. But Michael Irvin had him on his heels. That's why that PI should have been called, because at that time, I've been there as a defensive back, Deion was just wailing, trying to prevent Michael Irvin from catching that pass because he knew he was beaten. And that was just one of those more extremely unfortunate non-calls in Cowboy lore that really led to their defeat.
And you know what?
And the other
what
part of
else
that
happened?
is that
the other thing that happened in that game is when the game first started, they decided that Deion was going to take out Alvin Harper and they were going to double Michael Irvin. Well, that didn't work out so well because Michael Irvin was killing the double team. And when they started the game, Deion's on the line of scrimmage across from Harper, and he should have got called for offsides, but he slapped his hands like, okay, time to go. No, you don't shake hands on the line of scrimmage, right? And he was basically telling Harper, you ain't getting anything. So at halftime, they made the switch. It's like, we can't put up with this anymore. You got to go cover Michael Irvin, Deion. And he couldn't do that either, by the way. The Cowboys were burning them left and right, and they should have ended up winning that game.
Burning them left and right. Yes.
And having said that, when I interviewed Barry Switzer about 6 weeks ago and did a Zoom interview with him, and Barry, I was sitting in this same location doing a Zoom interview with Barry, and Barry is holding his iPhone for 45 minutes. He's just Switzer is such a great guy. He's just holding his iPhone doing this entire interview. Occasionally he'd get tired and he'd put it down a little bit, and he'd raise it back up, had a big old beard going, because he's in the middle of a pandemic. But anyway, I asked him about that, what was the difference from the 1994 season to the 95 season? He said, well, hell, the difference was we got Deion Sanders on our team the next year.
Hey, don't forget Charles Haley.
But
don't forget Charles Haley either.
Haley was already on the
Charles
team.
had a lot to do with it.
But remember, he only got there for about half the season. He was still playing baseball when they signed him to that contract. The other thing that happened on that play that I just described to you, Switzer ended up getting a personal foul 15 yards. I think he might have made contact with the official, or he must have said something that pissed him off, and there the flag. So now that was another reason why Switzer got criticized for the loss. If you hadn't had that penalty, you still might have scored.
It was a technical foul. That's what coaches do to fire up their team.
Right, yeah, right.
And Mickey, you said you had goosebumps watching that Cowboys team come back in that game. The other part of that is that was the Super Bowl that year. I mean, whoever won that game was going to, as Switzer put it to me, hang half 100 on San Diego
Absolutely.
in the Super Bowl. And that's exactly what the 49ers did. That's how huge that was. But you said you had goosebumps just watching that Cowboys team come back standing in the end zone. You probably had larger goosebumps 2 years prior at Candlestick Park when the Cowboys went in, and it was the same situation. It was a rainy day. They were caked in mud, and they beat the 49ers to go to the Super Bowl, which, of course, they won in a huge way over Buffalo that year.
Yeah, that was the one. That was the team that was too young. They weren't ready yet. They were.
Which kind of goes back to my story about the freaking field in San Francisco.
Yes, right. Both times, Deion. Both times, Everson, because the one time they tried to they resodded the middle of the field, right? So you put this sod on all this sog out there, right? And it didn't do nothing. The new field, the sod was moving.
It was the worst. Now, you can imagine now, I just went and played against them in 81. Here we are talking about 1994, and they still have the same problems. And they had the nerve to complain about turf when their players were getting hurt. Shut up, Niners. Get the heck out of here, man. I don't want to hear it, bro. You got some nerve.
All right, a little trip down memory lane, all prompted by the fact the Cowboys are playing the Browns, and we got diverted thinking about Jay Novacek getting stopped at the 6-inch line in 1994. All right, we come back on Mick Shots, and we'll bring it back to the present-day Cowboys in just a moment.
Please do.
Hey there, Cowboys fans. With Tide Cleaners at-home pickup and delivery, cleaning your clothes has never been more convenient. Simply sign up at your local store, set out your dirty clothes, and one of our Tide Cleaners professionals will come directly to your home for a totally contactless experience. Your clean garments will be returned promptly the next scheduled delivery day, so skip the errand and enjoy life, not laundry. Visit TideCleaners.com or your local store to sign up for Tide Cleaners at-home pickup and delivery today.
Make the most of summer with Ford, America's best-selling brand, during the Ford Summer Sales Event. With great offers on a huge selection of Ford SUVs and the largest selection of truck inventory to choose from. Get huge offers across the Ford lineup. So grab the family and head out. Ford's helping you make the most out of summer. It's easier now during the Ford Summer Sales Event. Based on 2019 calendar year total sales. Based on Autodata compact and full-size stock inventory as of June 2020.
Want to use what the pros use? How about the official men's skincare brand of the Dallas Cowboys, Jack Black? Right now you can get the Jack Black Starter, a curated collection of Cowboys locker room favorites for just $10 with free shipping. The starter includes 4 Jack Black skincare favorites plus a full-sized intense therapy lip balm. Go to getjackblack.com/Cowboys and use the code word TEAMJB. That's getjackblack.com/Cowboys. The Jack Black Starter, $10, free shipping.
I'm Jay Novacek, former tight end for the Dallas Cowboys. Back in the day, I was the guy who always got the tough yards, and that's why I run with John Deere today. In fact, I have a John Deere 3025E tractor that can handle any yard work I need to do, even the tough yards way out back. So if you have 1 acre or 1,000, John Deere has the equipment that's just right for you. Visit a John Deere dealer today and run with us. We are the official tractor provider of your Dallas Cowboys.
Back to Mick Shots.
Looking for something to change up your dinner routine? Help support local Frisco businesses by choosing one of the Star District restaurants. For information on delivery, takeout, curbside pickup, and dine-in availability, visit thestardistrict.com. As Mick Shots continues now, let's bring you up to speed on what's going on inside the SWBC Mortgage Studio. Mickey Spagnola, give us a report on what you saw at practice today.
Yes, Mike McCarthy said during his press conference that Tyron Smith would be out there in pads, and they expected him to participate in the 11-on-11 drills, that this is their heavy day. And he was out there in pads looking like he was ready to go 11-on-11. So that was a really good sign. I'm sure they didn't make him do every snap in the practice, but enough to get him out there to kind of check out and see if he's ready to go on Sunday. McCarthy sounded like he would be good to go, so that at least they would get one of their starting offensive tackles back out there. We'll see what they decide to do on the other side, where Terrence Steele has been starting. And, you know, I think that they like him. I don't know, maybe they'll use Brandon Knight as the swing tackle, assuming that Tyron Smith is able to play. Also, DeMarcus Lawrence, it was still working with the rehab guys. And that group's starting to get a little bit bigger as guys are coming back from some surgeries that are on IR. I saw that it looked like Sean Lee was headed out there. Leighton Vander Esch headed out there. Cam Irving, who was their prospective third tackle. So a lot of these guys are starting to get back on their feet. We'll see when they can get back out there and do something. So also Mike said when we asked him about the right tackle position, and he said, well, we got about 3 combinations that we'll be working on. So he was predictably vague about that. So from an injury standpoint, there was no one else on the injury report. Trayvon Diggs was listed as full, so assume that he's good to go. And then you still got to wait for Anthony Brown and Chidobe Awuzie to come off of IR. So yeah, from an injury standpoint, they look like they were in pretty good shape. One other thing he said when he was asked about having the unusual 3 consecutive home games, he said we need to take advantage of 3 straight games at home. That doesn't happen often. So that kind of gives you an update on what took place in practice.
Okay, and the another thing that kind of flew under the radar a little bit for a lot of people, tell us about Jordan Mills.
Yeah, Jordan Mills, offensive tackle, who actually had a Gatorade here. Probably not a cup of coffee, right, like baseball. In 2015, he spent a week with the Cowboys. They signed him off someone's practice squad and came in here, and then they decided they had somebody else they thought was a better depth guy at offensive tackle and let him go. But as it turned out, he ended up in Buffalo from 2016 through 2018, and he started 48 of 48 games for the Bills. He ended up in Arizona last year, ended up with a foot injury, and they put him on injured reserve. And it was a knee injury. It was the foot injury with the Cowboys. They put him on injured reserve, and he only played 3 games last year, and it was sitting out there. So the Cowboys brought him in, put him on the practice squad, as you can do now with a veteran in his 8th year. And let's see how quickly he can get ready to go. And, he may be, I don't know if he's a starting candidate, but maybe the swing tackle with a guy that's played in the league. And that's certainly huge when you're looking for help on offensive tackle. He started 84 of 90 games that he's played in this league. So keep an eye out for Jordan Mills.
He didn't just play in the league. He started for a number of years with the Bills. And so if he is recovered from that foot injury, then maybe he could be an alternative because he's not that old either. He'll turn 30 on Christmas Eve. I remember, it's funny. I remember you, I guess when Jordan Mills came out of college and went to Louisiana Tech, you came back from the Senior Bowl saying, I kind of like this guy, this big offensive tackle from La Tech. So that was the early scouting report from Mickey on Jordan Mills, who originally was a 5th-round draft pick of the Bears in 2013.
Yeah, absolutely.
Goodbye, Specs.
And then one other note we should point out, and it was another one that flew under the radar, and I didn't see it until I, started watching some all 22 of the game against Seattle. That Tyler Biadasz ended up the backup center. And I didn't realize it in the first half. He came in on possessions 3 and 4 to play center for Joe Looney. He had a little bit of an ankle thing going, and he played 2 consecutive possessions. Yeah. The first possession, they drove down and scored a touchdown. And then, as we pointed out yesterday, in the second half, when they decided that they needed to move Zach Martin out to tackle, move Looney to right guard, Biadasz went in and played center the rest of the way. And boy, the Cowboys went touchdown, field goal as soon as he got on the field. Now, I'm not saying he was the difference, but I think they have confidence in him playing center, and I think it's something we should keep an eye on as we go forward, even if Joe Looney and everything else works out and Looney's still at center. I always thought that with his background and the fact that he was the only guy on the roster that had played center last year, I know it was college because Looney was just a guard last year, except for some mop-up snaps at center when the game was over. I thought if he had a normal offseason, able to go to do the strength and conditioning after they drafted him, OTAs, mini camp, a regular training camp, preseason games, I think he could have challenged Joe Looney for that starting center job. So let's keep an eye on what happens at center.
Well, really, when you think about it, you might say that his consistent play could have made the difference in those 3 drives. The fact that he came in and there was no deficit detected when he comes into the ball game, to me, that just lets you know that's that next man up mentality. And I love that. I mean, that's how we were accustomed to it back in the day. Old school, we didn't care how much anyone got paid. If I got on the squad, I want to start and I want to contribute. That's old school mentality that Biadasz has, and I enjoy that because Myles Garrett and the Browns are looking to find any opening that they can in regards to the Cowboys offense. Right now, the running game is not as well as we want it to be. We're trying to be very creative on how we're getting the ball to Ezekiel Elliott through screens and things of that nature because sometimes he just doesn't seem to have his footwork together. So Myles Garrett and those guys are looking for openings that they can find, and hopefully Biadasz will be one of those openings that they cannot find because we need him to keep up his consistency.
So what you're saying, Mickey, is that Tyler Biadasz was the center when the Cowboys scored 22 of their 31 points in the game. I'd love to total up the total yards that they had when he was in the game at center. But you do?
Those the 3 possessions that I talked about, the 2 touchdowns and the field goal, 252 yards in 3 possessions.
Okay, and then throw in the last drive of the game too,
right,
where they drove from add another 50 yards on that.
Exactly. So 300 of their 500 and whatever it was, 22 yards, he was on the field for a whole bunch of those. Yeah, absolutely.
And I just thought he looked the part too. I thought he looked good out there.
He looked strong.
Without looking at the coach's film myself.
He's like one of these kind of bulldog guys, right? You don't push him around, and he's tenacious. And I thought,
nonsense.
He just needed experience, making that transition from college to pro, experience in this offense. And, in the center, that's a hard one to just step in and start, right? If you remember, as good as Mark Stepnoski was, he didn't start right away. It was 9 or 10 games into his rookie season in '89 before he took over for Tom Rafferty. So I just think they hit a home run with this guy at the end of the 4th round when they traded back into the 4th to get him.
Well, one thing I do recall is when we would bring in different centers as we started to go up the ladder as Cowboys in the 90s. I remember Emmitt Smith's comment when they brought in, I believe it was Ray Donaldson.
Yes.
I think he had come from the Colts. And Emmitt said he loved seeing those big butts up front so he could run behind them. So I'm sure if this guy Beatis is playing as well as we're talking about, I'm sure Ezekiel Elliott is going to be happy to see his big butt bending over on that ball so we can make some movement, and hopefully his good season will continue.
You know what?
Mickey, do you think that would...
And since he mentioned Ray Donaldson, that was another really fine free agent pickup because the Colts, I think, they thought he was getting old, and he came in here and immediately became a Pro Bowl center. Or continued to be a Pro Bowl center. He was real good. And the other big butt they had in the middle when somebody got hurt was Derek Kennard. Big baby.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Mickey, I think that quote from Emmett was actually in regard to Derek Kennard's big butt rather than Ray Donaldson's.
But
it probably fit both.
So I think we could say this. We're on the internet, right? That his nickname was Big.
Yes, say it, man.
His nickname was Big Juicy because he used to sweat so much. Troy Aikman made him carry a towel, and he would have to take the towel and kind of saw between his legs so the ball wasn't soaking wet when he snapped it to him.
Oh my God!
Well, and his son's a pretty good player himself, though.
The linebacker was with
Devin
the Giants,
Kennard,
right? Derek Kennard?
Yeah, he's now with the Cardinals. He made a lot of money. He went to Detroit and then Arizona. He's made a lot of money in this league.
That's good stuff. Good stuff.
All right, we turn our attention to these Cleveland Browns when Mick Shots continues in a moment.
Hey there, Cowboys fans. With Tide Cleaners at-home pickup and delivery, cleaning your clothes has never been more convenient. Simply sign up at your local store, set out your dirty clothes, and one of our Tide Cleaners professionals will come directly to your home for a totally contactless experience. Your clean garments will be returned promptly the next scheduled delivery day, so skip the errand and enjoy life, not laundry. Visit TideCleaners.com or your local store to sign up for Tide Cleaners at-home pickup and delivery today.
Since 1865, Stetson hats are American-made with pride right here in Texas. And Stetson is proud to be on the field with America's team. Want to show your Texas and team pride too? You can. By purchasing your own Stetson, you can look just like how the flag guys do on field at every home game. Stetson hats, the official crown of all self-respecting Cowboys, and your favorite football team.
Get yours today at shop.dallascowboys.com or at stetson.com.
What do you call a group of grown men and women who get together every week, proudly wearing the star, to share a 3-hour-long ritual of cheering, shouting at the TV, and raising their Miller Lite together while yelling, "How about them boys?" You call it Miller Time and Cowboys Nation. Here's to the only beer of the Cowboys celebrating 60 years of greatness. Here's to the original light beer. It's Miller Time. Celebrate responsibly. 2020 Miller Brewing Company, Fort Worth, Texas.
Hey, Cowboys fans, ready to spice up your next watch party? Bring Yo Quiero guacamole and be the game day hero. Yo Quiero means I want, and we know you want great, fresh-tasting, ready-to-serve guacamole for your home gating and tailgating events. Made with real avocados and the perfect blend of spices, it will be the star of any party. You can find us at your local Albertsons or Tom Thumb in the deli section. If you can't find it, talk to your store manager and tell them, Yo Quiero guacamole.
Back to Mick Shots.
Get the ultimate fan experience for the ultimate Cowboys fan. Join Dallas Cowboys United, presented by Globe Life, starting at just $20. Visit DallasCowboys.com/United.
All right, Mickey, you headed out to the stadium on Sunday?
I am headed out to the stadium on Sunday to see the Cowboys play the 2-1 Cleveland Browns, and it's the first time they've been 2-1 since 2011. And they're also riding a 7-game losing streak on the road. So Everson's got a bunch of notes for us on these Cleveland Browns. So you better start spilling them notes for us.
Hey man, look, that's why I was late coming on as well. I had to get my last minute stuff in.
Got your research.
And these guys really make me nervous. Yeah, I'm getting my research done. I gotta say, they make me a little bit nervous, only because you have a player like Baker Mayfield, and when he came out as a Heisman winner, everyone just thought he was going to blow up the league. And he kind of started off doing that. And all of a sudden, things start to settle down. And they start to realize that this team is really better when they run the ball. So right now, you're looking at Kareem Hunt being injured, of course. I don't know if he's going to play, but I think they just said he was idle with injury. But when you have a guy like Chubb back there running the ball, right now, this team is built the old school Leroy Kelly, Jim Brown days. This is what you're looking at in regards to this team. Everything is going to come off the run. And that's more comfortable for Baker Mayfield because he wasn't just good carrying the team the way Dak Prescott has with his arm. One thing that makes me worried about him is we, as a defense, the Cowboys, we just haven't shown consistently that we can hold the edge down. Bootlegs have gotten, they're wide open. The quarterback has no hindrance in regards to looking down the field. Anytime we try running play, they seem to be able to get outside. People are attacking us on the outside. We haven't shown, even though Alden Smith has done a great job as far as pass rushing, we haven't shown consistently that we can keep things within the tackle area. Every time you look up, we let people, quarterbacks, especially on bootlegs, get outside. That's where Baker Mayfield can really eat us alive. When you have Landry and Beckham running around in that secondary after a play action with the holes wide open behind our linebackers and in front of our safeties, that's going to be a major problem for us. And I'm hoping defensively that Mike Nolan is putting emphasis on that. It has to be game plan, because otherwise we're going to be a victim to their pace of the game. And the best thing about Cleveland, they have ball control. What's the best way to keep Dak Prescott and this great offense off the field? Is by running the ball and having long, extended drives. It really takes the wind out of our sails as an entire team, and it limits our offense to its effectiveness. That's how they're going to try to attack us, because that's the way I'd do it if I was their head coach.
Let me ask you guys. You guys this. So, Everson's right. I mean, they're averaging 170 yards rushing a game, and the key thing is it's not because they've run the ball so much. They're averaging 5.2 yards a carry, so he's exactly right. So from the Cowboys' defensive standpoint, think about this. The first 3 games they played against teams that basically their base offense was 3 wide, right? So they basically been playing nickel the whole time. So now what do the Cowboys do? Because that kind of covered up their deficiency at the linebacker spot. Now you may need 3 linebackers on the field. So you've got Joe Thomas in the middle, Jalen Smith, and because there's no Sean Lee yet, right? And you might have to go 3 linebackers. We talked about it yesterday, Bill. They employ a fullback, and I bet they go 2 tight ends quite a bit, too, to run the ball. So I wonder how the Cowboys adjust to get enough linebackers on the field to play the run.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting. Andy Genovich, their fullback, had 17 snaps last week, 22 the week before. Of course, they've got a tight end in Austin Hooper. With Landry and Beckham, they're starting wide receivers. They used their third receiver for only 35 snaps a week ago, which used to be, even just 5 years ago, that was pretty normal. Not anymore, though. the way teams are spreading the field these days, you usually the third receiver is getting a lot more snaps than that, and that's why you're seeing so many more DBs getting playing time in this league, and so it will be interesting to see. In this Mike Nolan defense, remember, not that the first depth chart of the year was anything official at all, but as in a 4-3 alignment, they had Aldon Smith listed as the Sam linebacker in a 4-3 defense. Now, if that was just someone in PR who did that, or if they did that on the advice of coaches, I don't know. But it'll be interesting to see. You want Aldon Smith on the field as much as possible, the impact that he has made so far. So is he the guy that plays at the Sam in that 4-3?
Well, Bill, you know what? They still have him listed. They're still listing 4 defensive linemen. Now, they've got DeMarcus Lawrence as one of them, right? We don't know if he'll start. If he doesn't start, then Everson Griffin's probably in there, right? But when it comes to Aldon Smith, they've got him listed as DPR. Do I need to translate?
Designated pass rusher.
There you go. Very good. There's a veteran on this squad. So, Bill, you're probably right, And then the other thing they can do, I would imagine, because if he's the DPR, he's normally standing up. You might stand up another guy on the other side and play maybe a 3-4 type alignment, and have two.
And you're disguising things that way.
Yes, right, because you don't know. You can do either, right? Yes.
Yeah.
I think the problem with that, though, is if they do pass, then we're like fish out of water. I don't want to see Aldon Smith dropping back in the flat.
Right.
I don't want to see DeMarcus Lawrence doing that either. And I think the Browns realize that that's going to be one of their emphasis on their offense is to try and keep us at a disadvantage personnel-wise. And so hopefully the Cowboys can anticipate this because at that point, if they do play action, then we are really at their mercy. I talked about it yesterday. I still don't mind keeping the same personnel and bringing down that strong safety, using him as a monster. Back in the day in high school, we called him a monster. And as far as I'm concerned, I think we could live with that. I know they got the fullback. They may come in with 2 tight ends. You're talking about some big guys. But if we do go with the monster look, bringing down that strong safety, Mike Nolan's going to have to be extremely creative by knowing their tendencies for Cleveland offensively and knowing when to bring an extra linebacker up the middle to help with the run. Because at that point, that's the only alternative you have. You might be a little bit lightweight with the monster coming down because he's not a linebacker, but you're going to have to strategically bring a linebacker on a run blitz. Not a pass blitz, but a run blitz to strategically keep Cleveland off guard, because they're definitely going to try and keep us off guard.
Everson, let me ask you this. Everson, let me ask you this. Monster safeties in the league. Who would be if you could handpick someone to play that role who's on any team in the league, who would be the best at it, you think?
Oh my goodness. I would do the Badger. Matthew from LSU.
Tyrann Mathieu.
Yes, he's in Houston now, correct?
Kansas City.
He's in Kansas City. Yes, I think. Well, he was in college. He was the ultimate monster player because not only did he play run, he was also one of those few guys that could blitz and play run and still come back and play the pass and make the interceptions like he has done his entire career. He has always been he has always had the knack of being able to play the pass as well in strategic situations.
Well, and he's got the ability to play in the slot, too. He could play a slot receiver.
Yes.
And Buda Baker at Arizona would be one of those. And I love Antoine Winfield, who's at Tampa Bay now. He's a rookie. He was my pick at the beginning of the year to be the defensive rookie of the year. Yep. But then Jamal Adams at Seattle is another guy like that.
That would
maybe
be
not covering the slot, but Jamal Adams is the monster backer that you're talking about, I think.
Yes, I agree.
Hey, and by
just
the way,
can't play pass. He just can't play pass as well as the Badger, though. He can't cover as well as the Badger.
Exactly. So he's more of that box safety who can rush the passer as well, and he can cover, obviously, a tight end or someone coming out of the backfield.
And by the way, since you brought up safeties and you mentioned Buda Baker, Arizona's having trouble at safety. They're going to play. They've been without Buda Baker and Chris Banjo, and they needed safety help, right? Safety help. You know who they signed? And it wasn't Earl Thomas.
Earl Thomas.
No, it was T.J. Ward, and he hasn't played football in 2 seasons, and they signed him to the practice squad. So I don't know if that says anything about Earl or not, but they didn't go the Earl Thomas route, and they were desperate to have a safety.
Look at the clock.
Oh, no.
Oh, my. It's the end of another show. That thing just flew by.
Way to end it, Spags.
Wow, that's an ender. Okay, we're going to make our picks tomorrow, and we're going to dive deeper into these Cleveland Browns. And I've got a trivia question for you tomorrow. How many players in this game won state championships at either Texas Stadium or AT&T Stadium? That's tomorrow on Mick Shots.
All right.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about this, Cowboys?